So you've got 30 seconds to make your way to your chair. You can give hugs and all that other good stuff in about an hour. While everybody's finding their way around, I'm going to pass this around. This is our Sunday school offering envelope. This is our check-in. College students, if you've never been with us before, if you could just write your names down on the side. It's just our attendance list for Sunday school. It helps us keep track of who's here and different things like that. There's office reasons, and I can't think of the particulars right this moment. But if you could just write your name off to the side if you don't see it there. If you are one of our regular college students and you've been here for the last couple years, your name should be on here. But I'm not going to promise you that it is. So I'm going to pass that around. The Sunday school offering envelope is also on here. This quarter's Sunday school offering is to go to Operation Christmas Child. This helps with, Karis, could you take that, please? Thanks. This helps with everything from funds for shipping boxes to getting things to help pack in boxes for packing parties and different things like that. And if you are ever back in the bell tower entrance, there is a box set up there now to receive some of those donations. And through the month of August, we have been collecting back-to-school supplies. So one of the things that we'll often pack in those boxes are pencils and crayons and different things like that, notepads, different things that kids in some of these other places who don't have access to those things and can't go to school unless they have pencils and papers. So we give those in those boxes. I'm also passing around, we're going to do an interview with Patrick here in about 15-ish minutes. And here are all of the interview questions so that everybody has these. You can reference those, you can follow along with us, and you can make notes if you'd like to make notes. And I'm going to go ahead and hand those off, and you can pass them along. All right. Why do I need to refresh? I haven't done anything. All right. This is our last Sunday school for the summer that we're going to be focusing on missions. From, I don't even know what date we started, but we've been for 8 weeks now. This is our 8th week, working through what is missions. We've covered lots of ground. We've intentionally defined the mission of the church and distinguished that between the overall mission of the church and missions. And we've made some of those distinctions and tried to parse some of that out. Patrick mentioned it earlier. The overall mission of the church, the Great Commission, is that we would be going forward, we would be teaching people what Jesus taught, that we'd be baptizing them, that we would be going forth and making disciples. When we talk about missions, that's how each of us, or how those who are sent into global missions or into countercultural situations, how they are going forward and doing that particularly. So from the mission of the church, we have many people who are going out to those different places. We've traced the story and the theme of missions through the Bible. We've talked about the necessity of the local church to send and be behind missions, as well as the planting or the formation of local churches being the goal of missions. When we send people out to go do missions, it's not just we're going to go out and we're going to do such and such a thing. But there's an intention there. There's a desired outcome. We have the desire to plant a church in this place where Jesus is not known. We want to go forward with the message of the gospel so that people hear this. We can teach them. We can disciple them. We can baptize them into the church, and we can have that fellowship with one another. We've talked about who should go. We should be sending elder-qualified men and women to go forward to these places. We've talked about what qualifications they've had. We've talked about the characteristics that they should have. We've talked about the local church's responsibility to identify and to affirm and to support and to send those who are qualified. So beyond the qualification, there's also the necessity of the local church to have an affirmation, to send those missionaries, to be behind them like we have done with Patrick, to send them to this place where Jesus is not known so that they can plant a church or revitalize or to build up or to gather together. It's church-centric. It's local church-centric when we talk about missions. We've talked about the work that a missionary is to do when they get there. It's not just to go and make converts. We don't want to just go out with the message of the gospel and be like, okay, you've heard about Jesus, we've talked about Jesus, I told you everything that I know about him, and now I'm gonna go on over here and do the same thing. There's intentional discipleship. We're planting churches, not just making disciples. They're not just making converts. We are making disciples. And I think before we move on to our topic today, I want to talk about how basically what Bethany Baptist Church is going to be doing with missions. Like, how are we going to approach this? What are we doing here? Before I get there, I just want to ask really quickly, are there any questions? We've kind of done this wide scoping thing. I might be able to take 2 or 3. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because we also have an interview to get to and things like that. But are there things that you have questions about in terms of missions that we've been talking about over the last 8 weeks that I might be able to answer? And if I'm not able to answer it now, we can talk later. I reserve the right to push that down the line. All right, good. We've been clear. What is it? Good. All right, so where am I at my notes? Before we hear from Patrick, I want to be talking about just practically about our ongoing and future role in terms of global missions here at Bethany Baptist Church. I think for the majority, when you talk to the missionaries that we support about Bethany's engagement and their partnership with them, it's generally positive. And I don't want this to be any way, a pat on the back or anything like that, but they're pretty quick to say that they feel encouraged and they feel supported. But from my end of things, as your missions pastor, I feel like we can be more engaged. And so that's sort of what I'd like to talk about for the next couple of minutes. I want to talk about us. So not just your missions pastor, not just your elders, not just the 5 people that sit on the missions team and kind of engage with the missionaries, but us as a church, because it's the local church that sends and supports missionaries. How can we all together be more engaged and more connected? Because we've not always done this the best. So how can we do this better? And I want to encourage us and I want to charge us as a church, as a whole, and as individual members of that whole to be intentional with our missionaries. So just a quick preview of what's to come to help us with just being connected and intentional with our missionaries. Downstairs on our missions wall, we have that little, and this is all going to be just kind of pointing you to different things. We have the map downstairs. You can see the faces of our missionaries. You can pray for them. You know their names. We can look at them. We often have update letters that's right next to that. In future months, hopefully we're hoping to kick this off in October, is for our missions team to be more engaged and connected with our missionaries and to shoot out a monthly email and be like, hey, how are you doing? How can we pray for you? What are some updates from the field? Are there any pictures that you could send for us? And sort of like, you live really far away from grandma and grandpa, and so you get them one of those little Google Calendar things that you can update all of your pictures in. Sort of something like that on the TV downstairs where we can have pictures of berry picking and various things like that. So we feel more engaged with Patrick and what he's doing, or with Katie down in Paraguay, or the Losses in France, or the painters in North Africa, so we can be more engaged with them, so we can see those things. So it's almost one of those things where it's out of sight, out of mind. I don't know how many people struggle with that, but if you could have a really great relationship with somebody, but if you haven't seen them in 6, 7, 8 months, that's not someone that's on your mind consistently. And so just having them continually before our eyes on TV downstairs so that we can see different things that are happening, we can read those updates, we can read prayer requests, we can have contact information, because one thing that's really cool about the modern age is that all of these guys have cell phones. And we can call them, or we can text them, or we can send them an email, or we can look them up on Facebook and send them messages and things like that. And so as a church, we can be encouraging and supporting our missionaries in that way. And that's just a quick look on what's going to come. A lot of people often ask about, are we having any short-term mission trips? Are we going to have any short-term trips coming up? I really want to go on a short-term trip. And I would love to send short-term trips, but it's not always feasible and not always possible. One of the ways that I personally see short-term trips, I don't want to just partner with some random people in some random place that we've never met before and go, I would really, really love to support our missionaries that we support, that we already have a relationship, that we can go and encourage them in the field and to love on them and to serve with them. I'm not putting you on the spot right now, but are there different ways that we can serve in Hooper Bay? Are there different ways that we can serve in Aix-en-Provence? Are there different ways that we can serve in Morocco? Are there different ways that we can serve in Paraguay? Are there different ways that we can do that? And so being able to reach out to our missionaries and say, hey, what's the possibility of sending a small group to come and to serve with you in this capacity? Are there any upcoming projects? Are there any upcoming outreaches? Are there any thing like that. And we have to recognize the fact that we're not going to be able to do all of that because, we don't all know French, we don't all know Spanish, we don't all know, I don't know, what do they speak in Morocco? Arabic? Or we don't all speak those different languages. So there's going to be some limited capability in some of those different things and being able to go on a short-term trip and do those things. But that's one of the ways that I would love to see us serving and encouraging our missionaries in the field, is some of these short-term trips, and so being able to work with those missionaries and come together. Another way that I would see us as a church continuing on forward, looking at global missions, have you considered going? And I don't just mean on a short-term trip. Have you ever thought about going to the field? Has it ever been an inkling on your heart? Would you like to go serve with the Lasses in France for a year? They are very open to that. Would you like to go serve? I'm not inviting anybody to Hooper Bay right now, but do you want to go and hang out with Patrick for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 months? And see what life is like in Hooper Bay and to encourage him and to support him in that way? Are there different areas that you could be stepping into the lives of our missionaries and serving with them in the field? Almost like an internship, but not quite. Getting your feet wet, figuring out what this looks like. So that's another way that we can consider that. Have you considered giving to missions? I know many of us, we give to the church, and the church has its 13 point something, maybe even 14% of our annual budget is devoted to missions, and we have that set aside. But do you personally support missions? Many of us in this room do. We support various missionaries that we support as a church as well. Are there different ways that you could be serving with or partnering with them in that way? Personally supporting and giving. How about more intentional prayer for our missionaries? Like I said earlier, you can shoot out a text, or you can, however that is. I know that the painters have this, I can never remember, it starts with an S. It's one of those really secure text lines that you can only read, you can't send, it's all those different, Signal, that's what it's called. Since we have met Jonathan and Elizabeth Painter, I've learned so many things about cybersecurity that it's not even funny. But there are different ways that we can be connected with our missionaries and intentionally be praying for them, be praying with them. We get update letters from our missionaries that say, please pray for this. Are you reading it? First, are you reading it? That's the big question. And then are you praying? Are you actually praying for our missionaries as we do that? You have the contact for them. If you don't, I do. You can reach out to me. I can do those things. Have you thought about sending them cards? I know the Ongs, when they were downstairs with the Sunday school, they had all the kids, write out a card, and they sent it out to our missionaries. And our missionaries got packages, and all of them were really encouraged by that. Have you considered writing them letters and having your kids write them cards and different things like that? Send them a text, do all those. Be aware of time zones, too, if you're trying to make a phone call. If we try to call Patrick at 8 o'clock in the morning, our time, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, his time. And I don't know if you have a D&D on or what, but be aware of some of those things. Or if you're trying to call the painters in the middle of the night, or the guests are 12 hours behind. So right now, I'm pretty sure Steve's in bed. So be aware of some of those time zone changes and things like that. Let your kids draw a picture, send a note. Let them know that you are praying for them, and then actually pray for them. And here's the biggest thing that I have noticed as Kelsey and I have gone on a handful of various missions encouragement trips. We go to encourage our missionaries. It's not always just about their ministry. Don't just pray for their ministry. Don't just pray for the work that's happening in X, Y, or Z, any of those places. But how are they doing? How is their marriage doing? How are they doing in singleness? How are they doing with relationships on their team? How are they doing in all these other various capacities? How's your time in the Word been? Be intentionally and specifically praying for their personal lives, not just the ministry, because they're not just, that's not the sole identity of who they are. They are in Christ. They are on the field. They're doing this work, but they have real world struggles. Many of you got the policy that we have been working on and writing and just kind of digging into over the last year and a half. Another way that we're going to be moving forward with missions at Bethany is really implementing that. And as we're bringing new missionaries on, engaging them with that, and even with our current missionaries, being like, hey, here are the things. Here is our responsibility to you, and here's your responsibility to us. Here is how we want to engage in this relationship and in this partnership. And I've probably said a lot and not said a whole lot at the same time. But if you have any questions about any of those things, I'm happy to talk to you later. But right now,